I'm just so tired today. I'm so tired.
Wow. Oh.
It's been a week. Like I
Has been a
said,
week.
it's already Wednesday, which is like, thank gosh, that means we're halfway through. So I guess I have the right to be tired. But
Yeah.
I'm tired.
That's all right to be tired.
Yeah. Life is very tiring sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, well, so today we have Kevin here. Kevin and I went to college together.
Yep.
We were both on a advisory board for our dorm, and we were planning events for it and trying to
Yep.
get people together. A lot of community building that had very bad turnout, but we still really tried.
Right.
So despite people not showing up to the events that we planned, we really put a lot of our hearts into it, and we learned, I think, most about working together as a team. Like,
Right.
we were such a fun team. You, Ariel, me. There
Right.
were other people. I don't remember their names.
Right. 100%. Right.
And so I saw Kevin on LinkedIn, and we reached out to each other, and here we are now talking more about it. So
Yep, most
thanks
definitely.
for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And what do you want to talk a little bit about where you're at now and what you're doing?
Sure, no problem. So my name is Kevin Hillman once again. I right now work as a digital marketing and social media specialist for EMU professional programs and training. Right now, I'm just doing a whole lot of digital marketing work, social media specialist work, posting on social media, just trying to get a bigger audience for our classes and everything like that.
So what kind of content are you posting for them and creating, or do you create it too?
So most of the time, I'm the one writing the copy. I'm the one coming up with the graphics, finding the photos. So yeah, I'm pretty much on the creating side of the content, but also I'm the one that's sharing it, looking at the analytics, making sure, we're sharing it at the right time, hitting the right audiences, who are we targeting, everything like that.
And then for a place like Eastern, who is your target? Like what's your main purpose for getting your content out there? What's the goal?
So personally, our department personally focuses on all people that are already working. So working professionals such as social workers, educators, HR professionals. We have different courses that are used for professional development purposes in order for them to, reach the next stage in their career or even shift careers. So we're really trying to focus on those working individuals already more than students, but there's some still students in there too, keep them in the EMU family.
Mm-hmm. And then what do you think got you into a role like this? Like, are you doing what you love?
Wow.
Are you happy where you're at? Like, what do you think about when you find yourself in this position? How does that make you feel?
So right now, I can definitely say this role was completely unexpected. So I had just came off of a public relations internship that I did before, kind of at the end of the summer. And originally, my mom, who works for EMU as well, actually saw this position open. Originally, I was like, I don't really want to apply. This is just going to be some position for a student, like maybe 10 hours a week. It's going to be nothing. I applied for it anyway because, why not? Get a call. They say, okay, we like your experience. This position is going to be part-time, but it pays like $25 an hour. I'm like, okay, that's not too bad, I was looking for full-time at the time, but I kind of liked it. And I kind of liked that they said that it was a new role. I really like stepping into new roles and new positions because I feel like that's where you can make the most impact. You can really kind of make that position your own. And for the next person that's in that role, you can kind of lay the groundwork. So, went through the interview process, boom, boom, boom. They said they really loved me. They said they really liked the fact that I already had experience in certain areas, and here I am today, So it was a blessing in disguise, honestly, because I've learned so much just from, really kind of taking a role and building it from the ground up. I'm really learning digital marketing on like a ground floor level.
That's cool that you get to do that and you get to learn the ins and outs of everything. And like you said, that you lay the groundwork for other people, and then you get to teach other people everything that you've gotten to learn. So that's pretty sweet.
100%.
Yeah, that is super cool. And then what did you study in college? Did you plan on doing something like this? So
originally I was a marketing major and ended up switching to PR. So it was I kind of had a lot of experience with writing and social media writing already. I had a couple of social media classes in my PR program. So I can definitely say that I am doing what I thought I would be doing. Maybe a little bit more, traditional media work, but it just kind of depends. I'm working more in social media, and that's kind of the area that I really wanted to go into more anyway.
Now, what made you want to get into more of that social media area?
I think the social media area is just huge. I think it's definitely, I mean, we've seen it's huge already, but, I think, with the new social medias coming out, things like Clubhouse, old ones, things like Instagram, that it's really allows you to reach a much wider audience. Public relations is definitely a field that I definitely still keep an eye on. I'm just not doing that traditional, reaching out to journalists thing anymore. I'm more so creating the content, finding photography, finding, looking at different targeted audiences. I'm getting more into ads now. So a lot of it is just, personally, that's kind of where I felt like I can make a better impact.
Yeah, for sure. It's cool how diverse social media is, because like I hear the term social media marketing, but like really what does that mean? And you're talking about all of the ins and outs of that. Right. It's not just posting things. 100%. It's having good reason to do it. It's engaging with people, starting conversations, building a community. That's social media marketing.
Yes. All of that.
Yeah. And like when we talk about like ads, now where are you doing a lot of these ads and postings? Like, are people spending money on ads where they expected to spend money on ads, or has that shifted over the past 5 years?
So now everything has advertising. So I remember back in the day, used to hear a little bit about Facebook ads. Now Instagram has ads, Snapchat has ads, Pinterest has ads. Every single platform you can think of literally has ads. Spotify has ads on this for this podcast. So, advertising is a big revenue source for these companies, but it's also a really good opportunity to get, your product or your business's product in front of a lot of new people, a lot of people may not have very large followings, and this advertising is kind of, leveled the playing field. Obviously it's a pay to play, but, because it's leveled the playing field, it allows a lot of more people to have opportunity, to get their products seen and, to have their contents be seen, or heard by everybody else out there. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's not just having to like have enough money to get on a TV ad.
Right.
It's like if you have $100, you could get in front of some people, test an idea, try to get some traffic to your website and build your business.
100%. And that keyword, test. Testing is a very big part of social media marketing and social media advertising. So.
Yeah, I try to look at marketing as like, it's all experiments, really. We think that this thing could be good, so let's try it. Let's study it. What did people interact with our content? Did they do what we thought did they do the things that we wanted them to do?
Right.
If yes, awesome. Let's lean into that more. If no, how can we tweak it? How can we try it? And so it's like, there's no real like failing with social media. It's trying things, seeing what works, and then leaning into the best of it.
Right. It's science. And
you're
in the lab.
Yeah, and I think a misconception too is that like just because a bunch of people follow you means they're all going to see it. And now there's so many different things that can determine whether or not you're viewed. And so ads are actually really important, even just so that the people who follow you can see your own content. Which is super interesting to think about now. That changes the dynamic of a business's opportunity. And to amplify that, a pandemic where you aren't physically going into buildings like you used to.
Right.
So if you had any advice for people right now, what would your advice be for, using ads and leveraging social media to build their business?
I would definitely tell them to, first of all, make sure you know the purpose of the ad that you're creating. A lot of times when we create these type of social media content or social media ads, we don't necessarily do it with a purpose. We just say, okay, I want to get it out there. You should have for certain purpose of the ad that you're creating. So it should be to get brand awareness up. It should be to get conversions or sales. It can be to get traffic to your website, to a lead generation page. It can be any of those things, but you want to make sure that you have the purpose created first. Then you can get to kind of thinking about the copy, the photography, the video, whatever that ad is going to be. Then after that, you get into the platform, you learn the platform, you learn where your audience is. For Facebook, that's a very huge audience. It's like a lot of people. Instagram, once again, a lot of people, but maybe more, the younger generation. Snapchat, definitely the younger generation. You go where your audience is. And then once you learn the platform, you learn where your audience is, all of those different things, then you can create a really great ad. And as we said before, testing. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it's not going to work, and you tweak it, you optimize it. And then eventually, you find something that works, and then you press that button until you get how to create something else, because that's just kind of how the game is. You got to keep it going. Content is continually going, but that's probably would be my advice for anyone getting started with it.
It's good advice.
Yeah.
Earlier in your career, have you run campaigns or like managed social media accounts without a purpose, without intent? And then you kind of learn the hard way of like, oh, you know what? I do need to have goals. I do need to have a reason why I'm sharing this stuff.
Right. 100%. I think when I got started doing social media, even here, my thought was, okay, we're hitting these like professionals, but there's so many different fields out here. I can't just put this up thinking that, some random working professional, even that who was in the field is going to just see this and like it. There are different demographics. There's men and women. There's, you can really get really deep into who you want to target with each ad and with each piece of media. And I think when you're able to get that deep, that's when you're able to really talk to them. It's almost like you're having a conversation with them when you do this right. And so I think even, my past positions, I think I kind of have learned, how to talk to people in a much deeper way and how to connect with them in a much deeper way with content. So yeah, I could definitely say that when I started, it definitely wasn't as easy as it is now.
Yeah, for sure. Just like exercise, it gets easier the more you do it.
Right.
Yeah. And do you ever feel like you get content overload? Like you're just consuming and learning and posting and consuming and learning and posting, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm done. I don't know. Like, do you ever just have those kind of breakthrough moments of a few days of just exhaustion from the creation and the postings?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is definitely something that's happened to me before. When you're working in social media, it can be very daunting. It can be and like you said, if you're the only one doing it for your business, it can be very daunting creating the content, sharing the content, optimizing the content. So sometimes
obsessed with engagement. Like, why no one's commenting? It's been like almost 12 hours.
Right.
Like
you're checking your phone every couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Like how many likes, how many shares, how many everything else. So
24 views and no likes.
Right. Like, what did I do wrong? Like, this is supposed to work. But, I think it's important to give yourself a break from it for a little bit because, I think that's also, where you can come back and be your most creative. Sometimes when you're in it, you got to step out of it, look at the whole thing, maybe go do something else, come back, you're refreshed.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree completely because like I absolutely love these social clips we create, taking the podcast, chopping it up and then putting it online. And I do think it's helping our business grow. But, Bill says to me, he goes, Breana, like you're obsessed. You need to stop. This isn't even what I hired you for. I heard you to talk to people and like you care so much about growing online. And I'm like, well, because that's what we do. We help businesses grow online. And so like, I do kind of get obsessed with it. Because my job is to sell, putting content online to grow your business. And so like, obviously I want to do that for us. And it is fun. I think that it's exhausting, but it's also very fun because like every engagement you get is someone else who you might get to work with. And that's potentially like a new friend. So how could you not get excited about that? You're getting in front of people, you're getting shared, and all of a sudden like, wow, what I'm doing is really making an impact. And that feels so good. That's addicting.
Right. It's addicting. Wanting to make an impact. That to me is why I do it. That's why any position that I have in the future, that's always what I aim to do, make an impact. So.
Yeah. Make an impact and make friends.
Like make friends, yes.
It is a new way to shake hands.
Right, 100%.
I think it's not enough just to get like engagement either. You actually have to engage back. And that's probably one of the other most exciting parts is that like if someone likes something, now you get to go say hi to them.
Yep.
Hey, I saw you liked this. I want to let you know who I am, And that's an exciting opportunity again for friends.
Right. That engagement is very important. Letting your audience know that, hey, there's a real person behind here and I really, care about, what you're getting out of my content, whether you're educating yourself, whether you're using any of the products that I provide, anything like that. Having that real relationship will really help you, facilitate that relationship with the customer.
Yeah, and like what you're doing right now is so important for Eastern. I was telling Bill how for Wayne State University, I thought it might be nice to even give their professors an opportunity to, instead of like, doing what they used to do, their in-person lectures, a lot of things have been moved online. So I thought, well, what would it look like to showcase professors by giving each professor in a department like an opportunity to get one recorded lecture, like professionally recorded lecture, TED Talk style.
Right.
And then that's evergreen content that can always help them grow. And, so I just, the fact that you get to be helping a university grow online, that's more than just your department growing. That's truly the university. And that's really important.
Yeah.
And you're giving them knowledge that, like, quite honestly, isn't researched enough to really know yet. You can read things and teach them, but there's not much information out there about growing online yet for a university.
Yeah, it's definitely something. So we're a department in the university, but I think we work alongside the Division of Communications, which is for the entire university, and we're all learning from each other.
Yeah.
Since there's so many different
digital
audiences.
marketing for a department, which is growing the university.
Yep, 100%. And I think that's amazing when you say that. Like, for a university, there's so many facets of a university when you think about it. There's athletics, there's education for all these different, disciplines for people who want to get degrees in. I mean, there's so many different audiences out there. So we actually do have a social media meeting like once per month with everyone where we actually do learn from each other and everything like that of what works. So that's 100% cool. What you said.
Do you know Sammy Liebig? Do you know Sammy Tanzel?
Sammy Tanzel. I haven't heard the name.
Okay. She works in social media marketing too at Eastern.
Really?
Yeah, she's in one of the departments.
What department? Do you know?
I do not know which department, but she was actually on one of our last episodes.
Really? Okay. Yeah. You know what? If she comes to the meeting, I'll see if I can identify her.
Yeah.
Tell her that you have friends in common.
Right.
Yeah. But she went to Eastern with us, and she was on the cheer team, and and she kind of has a different perspective on it too, because she studied marketing at Eastern, and her, she started doing photography, and now she's like, kind of like all of us, like, you just get obsessed with content, and then you're going home, you're creating your own content, and it just like never ends. Right. And so how are you doing with balancing that? Like, do you have your own content that you get inspired to create the minute you get home too? Yeah,
most definitely. I'm really trying to get now more into video. I'm trying to create a couple of YouTube videos, just kind of trying to balance out my job and, like you said, personally creating content on my own. I've done a couple of photos here and there, learning how to use a camera. I think once again, I want to get more into ads. So I want to learn how to use these different ad platforms, how to use them, and what businesses would they be best for. So a lot of self-education going into it. So I think the best way that I balance it is I kind of mark out my time that, okay, I want to do this. I get really deep into the work that I want to do. And then, once I finish that work, I put it away and I do something else. I go to the gym, I read a book, anything like that. So I think it's really important to, have that time that that you need to work, and then have that time that you're doing something else, because content creation, it's very fun, but it can be work. So, making sure you're focusing on that, and then, going to do something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's awesome. I love that you're doing that. You're dividing it. You're making time for yourself, your own stuff, and then work.
Right.
And, do you work your average normal day 8 to 5 too for Eastern, or do you kind of get to control your own hours?
So right now I'm actually part-time, and I'm pretty flexible with my hours. I have recently kind of gotten myself into somewhat of a schedule just so I can do, what we just talked about a whole lot better. But right now I'd say maybe usually my Mondays and Tuesdays are more like 10 to 7. And then the rest of my days are a little bit lighter. So
yeah. And when it comes to ads, do you think there's a best platform for ads right now?
Best platform. I think that completely depends upon the business. I don't think you can go wrong with Facebook just because of how big it is, or even Google ads. But I'd say it definitely depends on the audience and depends on your business. E-commerce, I'd say Instagram would be very good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good advice. It definitely is not like a catch-all for anything.
Right.
It's who's your audience? What's your business? What are you selling? Where are the people that you want to actually target, and where are they hanging out? And then you also balance the cost. Is it less expensive to advertise on TikTok versus Facebook?
Right.
All that good stuff.
Yep.
Or is your ideal audience just generally on LinkedIn? So why would you pay for YouTube ads when you could? I don't know what LinkedIn ads cost. But I really would love to look into LinkedIn ads. I can't speak. I'd like to look into them, though, because there's not many videos on LinkedIn.
Right.
And so, when there is a video that pops up on my feed, as long as there's subtitles below it, I generally want to click it and watch.
Hey, most definitely do it. You can be revolutionary on the platform, and that's how you get, the attention, doing things on a platform that haven't been done before. LinkedIn just added stories. I, for one, never thought they were going to do that. But, that's kind of what the platforms want to do now. They want to keep you on there, a little bit longer, and they want, to be engaged. So,
And the direction of culture is just getting more human. And so LinkedIn knows that while everything shifts to more like human-based interactions, people want to watch, you know, that CEO of a company talking, you know, to his cell phone and a selfie cam. Like, it's just more human. And so if LinkedIn didn't go in that direction with the shift of work culture, then that would just be a downfall on their end.
Right.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah. And so many businesses are shifting to TikTok.
So many. TikTok has blown up in a way that, I mean, when I first heard about it, and I never thought that it would be as big as it got kind of in the pandemic. But then when it kind of started to get big in the pandemic, I'm like, oh, okay, we've got another monster social media on our hands right now. So, and me personally, I really enjoy TikTok. I haven't gotten too much into the platform on making anything in there yet, but I do enjoy watching the videos and everything.
Yeah. I used TikTok for probably like almost 2 weeks. And then I was like, I'm over it. I just got really into LinkedIn again.
Gotcha. Understood.
Yeah. I challenged myself in November to start using LinkedIn more. And it's actually just a ton of fun in my opinion.
It is.
Yeah. I like LinkedIn a lot. I think people are getting really open on there too, which is nice. I like reading personal posts.
Right. LinkedIn is definitely opening up. It's more of a business professional platform, kind of becoming more personal. I remember when I was in college, I just thought, oh, this is a job board.
Oh yeah.
This is a place where I go to get a job,
Yeah.
you know, but now it's a full-on social media platform. You connect with people, you network with other businesses. Very important if anyone's watching. B2B is very important. They're business to business. So most definitely.
Yeah, and like honestly, that's probably one of the like scariest misconceptions about LinkedIn is that it is just a job board.
Right.
Because then you're using it wrong. Because really you need to be talking to people. You need to be connecting.
Right.
And so it's mostly for networking and connecting.
Right.
But if you just think of it as a job board, then you're probably using it wrong and you're just on there but not really reaching out to people because you don't realize, no, you can go add that president of a company. Like you can add them and you can actually message them and they might respond to you.
They might respond. They actually might. Right.
And that's the best way to get a job.
Right.
Just through a conversation. Like so much more powerful than like applying to an ad you saw.
Getting a personal conversation with someone, you know. It's not about what you know. Sometimes it's about who you know. And LinkedIn is, you know, literally you can find them right there and you can talk to them. So.
Yeah, Bill told me to use LinkedIn. I was really resistant. I was like,
really?
Like, everyone on LinkedIn is boring and weird and they're old.
What?
I'm like, yes,
what?
I did not want to use LinkedIn.
Goodness.
I was so against it. And it's like been one of the best things for us.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. Like,
right. You live and you learn.
Yeah, and I'm just used to Instagram, which is like so not where we need to be right now as a business.
Well, Instagram has gotten tougher as you know, as time has went on, just because they've added so much. But that, I guess in a way, that's actually kind of refreshing. There's so many different ways you can have content on Instagram, but you know, you got to be on it. You know, everybody always talks about the Instagram algorithm. Yeah, it is tough. You know, it's very tough. And it changes all the time. But you know, I mean, myself, I need to do better on Instagram, but you know, just keep creating the content, you know, just keep at it and, you know, eventually you'll pull through.
Yeah. Yeah. So what kind of videos are you getting into right now?
Right now, talking heads. I think right now I kind of want to focus my content more on how to become a better professional. I think I kind of have some experience in that area. I've had a couple of internships, so I'm kind of talking more to a kind of the audience, kind of like who I was, kind of videos that I would watch, you know, looking back at my former college self that, you know, that I would find, you know, interesting or that I would find very helpful. So I think that's kind of where my content is looking right now. Hopefully when I get more experience in the digital world, I want to create videos on that. But I still think I have a lot more to go, a ways to go personally.
The cool thing about even videos is you can document your journey and people love a good story.
Yes.
So it's not just seeing that, oh, he made it there, he's doing the thing. It's cool to see your journey over the years of growing and developing and learning. And so that way other people can understand, oh, it just didn't magically happen. He actually worked his butt off to get there and he did it nonstop. And he actually showed us, he brought us into the behind the scenes of him learning. And that's really special.
Right.
Yeah.
I love the word story. That to me is also one of the things I really like to emphasize, story. It's really fun, like you said, to see the entire journey of someone going from A to B. Because, when you just see, a lot of times on social media, we can act like it's just a highlight, Here are all the best moments of my life. What we're seeing now is that, like you said, we want people to be more human. We need to see the ups, the downs, the everything. It's like we're engrossed in it, That kind of is what's going to keep people watching your content. They want to see everything.
Yeah.
And they see that you're like them, that you're a human being, that you have good times and you have not so good times. Happens to everybody. And so it's like when you put yourself out there in the public eye, is you can act as an inspiration to people, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I also think too, gosh, like I just keep repeating over and over again, but we want something that's raw. We want something that's real. We want something we can relate with. And it's just not the same anymore. We want to see people. We want to know what's going on. And like even reading, like I don't know. I don't want to watch like someone just reading a script. I don't want to watch that. But like you really got to convince me that I should read your book at the same time too. There's just so much content out there. And now we have to be more selective than ever to decide which content we want to consume. And it's got to be something that we can feel like is wholesome, or else I just think it's harder to want to watch it because you got to relate.
Yeah, you have to relate. You have to be able to build that relatability with your audience.
Yeah.
And even if your brand is glitz and glam, like I said, I don't think it's bad to show them, what an off day looks like, because that's just gonna make you more human.
Yeah, I agree. And like, the podcast, the first podcast I ever started listening to, it's Rob Dial Mindset Mentor podcast. And it's just all about like positivity and like how to be a good mentor. And he's a life coach, so he talks a lot about that too. But one thing that he stresses, and he always says it, is like, I refuse to delete my first YouTube video. I refuse to delete my first podcast episode. He goes, because I want everyone to listen to that 4 years ago and know where I am right now and go, holy shit, that was only 4 years ago.
Right.
Like in 4 years, he's just freaking blown up. But it is good to remember that 4 years ago, he had 0 listeners.
Right. That's the way it is. Documenting the entire journey.
Yeah. And like, it's just part of life. Like you said you've been making videos for a long time, but you don't always post them.
Yeah. Trying video podcasts like 7 years ago.
Oh no.
But was too afraid. Was too afraid to share them. And it's something I knew I wanted to do and I wanted to get better at, because I didn't want to be shy and afraid on camera. But I just let fear get the best of me. And so I was like, well, I hid.
Right.
So the lesson learned is, well, it can only hide for so long before you say yes to the thing that you should be doing, before you listen to whatever that voice is in your mind that says, do it, just do it. Like get over the fear of starting and just start doing it. Yeah. Like Breana and I were talking last night about like me being fearful about doing certain things because you're afraid of rejection or you're afraid of somebody laughing at you or whatever the case is. But instead of like cowering to fear, saying, you know what, I accept that this is fear. On the other side of fear is opportunity that is like infinite. And so what would you rather do? Would you rather stop yourself before you even give yourself a chance to start? Or would you rather, suck it up, say, I'm going to suck when I first start. That's okay.
Yes.
Like everybody's not very good when they first get started. But the reason why they're good now is because they did it. And they said, I want this bad enough. I'm willing to invest into it over the long haul, over not just today, tomorrow, this week, this year, but for the next few years, for the next 10 years. And that's how you really make progress.
Yeah, like, to the common eye, we look like we've only been a video podcast business with experience like since August, but you've really been doing video your whole life.
Yeah.
And you just never really talked about it, because naturally, like, that fear of like, it has to be perfect. It has to look great. And it's like, it's so vulnerable to share something when it feels unfinished.
Right.
But the reality is that like, what does it take for something to be finished?
Sometimes there really is no end point. It's at one point, it just becomes like, you're putting it off. And like you said, you just have to put it out there and, see what everybody says. And then, just make it better, consistently make it better, work to make it better. And like you said, you can't give up. You have to have determination. And, things probably won't, get a whole lot of likes and shares when you first start out. People probably won't, be commenting like, oh, this is the greatest thing we've ever seen. It's not going to necessarily happen that way. You learn, you get better. And then when you are that good, you're like, well, I know how to do it now.
Yeah. And to admit to someone that they're impacting you is very vulnerable as well. Like, I could watch your stuff for 6 months before I ever say, hey, Kevin, you really helped me out this year. I mean, and that's just on me for feeling scared to tell you that you're helping me.
Right.
Even though that would make your day. That's still a form of me admitting I had pain and you helped me with my pain, which is me. Now I'm admitting that I have pain.
It's a process.
Yeah. So it takes a long time to even earn someone to acknowledge your stuff.
Right.
That takes vulnerability as well. So one, vulnerability on your end to upload it, hope that it's doing something, hope that like that one view is someone who cared.
Right.
But then two, on the other end, the viewer is also working up their own, emotions of courage to say thank you for this.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, like you've got people you've followed forever, like on emails, like Shiv and Neil Patel, and like, I think you said you do thank them every now and then, right? Do you send an email?
I'll reply to their emails and chat with them. So like, why not? Like, why wouldn't I reply to this person?
And I never even thought about that.
Yeah. Again, everyone's a human.
Yeah.
He's emailing Neil Patel. That is very important.
I haven't emailed Neil Patel, but like Shiv. There's a handful of other leaders who just freely share all of the lessons that they've learned. It's like, I think that's super cool about like LinkedIn or through video podcast is somebody can take 10 years worth of knowledge and share it in an hour. And you get to learn all of their best practices. You get to learn from them learning the really hard way. Yes. And they're like, hey, I'm vulnerable enough to say I mess up a lot throughout my journey, but here's some of the good stuff.
Right.
Do with it what you will.
Yes.
Yeah. So Kevin, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are you going to be doing? Like, I know it's such a long, funny question because everyone asks that at Christmas, but what do you see yourself, even if it's not in 5 years, but in 20 years? Like I know you're an entrepreneur. Yeah, but like, where do you see yourself? What's your ideal life?
20 years. How would I be? 44? I'll definitely have kids by then and I'll be successful. That's what I'll say for 20 years. But for 5 years, I definitely see myself kind of, if I'm not working for a company, I'll be working for myself. I still want to stay in the digital media field. I kind of want to get more, like I said, into content creation in different aspects. I really think podcasting is a really cool space. I was really blessed, that with this opportunity to actually be on one and kind of see what it's like because I've always wanted to. Like I said, video, photography, and just kind of become an overall content creator and help, other people who maybe want to get into this space or, just want to get into this career. Kind of become better because, nowadays with different positions, they kind of want you to be able to know, at least know how to do a lot of different things as a content creator. And I just really think that since I find it enjoyable and I really find it enjoyable, helping other people, that I think I could be a good person to, help everybody in this space, help them not make the same mistakes that I did, help them become better people. Yeah. And then what kind of businesses would you want to work with or for? Let's see here. I would love to work for Google. I think I know some people who work at Google right now and they say it's a really awesome experience. But let's see here. A film production studio. I really enjoy film. I hope one day to finish a screenplay that I'm thinking about writing. Tell us about it. Tell you about it? Oh, goodness. I don't know. Ooh, do I want to tell you about it? Oh, my goodness. So I have a film idea personally. It kind of talks about a time when it's a young kid. He kind of lives. It's not necessarily based on a true story, but it's kind of based on my own life. I remember coming home from school one day, and someone who lived in my apartment complex was murdered. He was kind of like the utility man, and I just remember coming home because that man had been in our apartment a couple of days prior. Wow. And he murdered, I guess, some big person who was like on the apartment board and everything like that. So I don't know. I kind of got inspired by that. Don't make that weird, but I got inspired to write kind of like a murder mystery type story for, a young kid who's kind of working working in a garden with someone who he lives near, and just kind of a whole murder mystery of kind of how that all kind of came to be. So, like I said, it's still very, very fuzzy, but I'm hoping to get that screenplay done at some point in my life. But, you just got to continue writing and get better at that skill, because that's a skill in itself. So,
yeah.
That's super cool. Something in yoga that they say a lot is like turning your pain into purpose. And like, I mean, as a kid, I think that would have been a really like kind of scary situation to hear about.
Yeah.
And now you're an adult and you're like inspired by it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. At the time it was definitely scary, but as I look back on it, everyone, my family would say, but you never know where inspiration is going to strike, really. And I've always liked thriller movies. I've always liked those type of movies. So I think that had a lot to do with it, Man, that was vulnerable. I never thought I would share that.
Yeah.
But that's
Well,
what
how's it
for.
feel? You shared it. How's it feel?
It feels like I need to get to that screenplay.
There you go. Gives you a sense of urgency.
Sense of urgency. Right.
We know someone who he writes like, what kind of fiction does Lee write?
It's like action comedies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just got they have a 3-movie deal, and so they
wow.
locked that in a few months ago.
That's
He's
amazing.
like, I don't know if they'll ever actually get made, but they got purchased by the production studio.
That's great.
So it's gonna
Yeah,
be cool to see
but
what he creates.
He
awesome.
he talks about how vulnerable it is. Like he even says like with screenplay, like you're writing, and people just don't get it, and they think you're crazy, and they're
Right.
like, that's never gonna go anywhere, man. Like you're putting a lot of time into nothing, and then he's like, and all of a sudden it sells. And you're
Wow.
like, yeah, like you're
right,
like, what?
right. You're like, wow, this is
really
crazy.
gonna be
They
a
like my
movie?
crazy idea. They love my crazy ideas. Like, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is going to come to life.
Right.
And so, like, yeah, Lee even talked about potentially starting a podcast, documenting just like what that journey is like from the creative aspect of a screenwriter.
Oh,
and
definitely.
I think I told you, but like, I never even thought about that. Like, how someone writes a movie.
Oh my goodness,
It's wild.
It's crazy. I think I watch script notes and I listen to them. I'm kind of different type of tips in terms of screenwriting, but it is so much more difficult than you think. Writing in general is difficult, but it can be very enjoyable. It can be very therapeutic, as they say, you just have to get started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be terrified to go back to the apartment if I was a kid, and like my neighbor got murdered. I'd be very scared. So I see how that inspiration was in your mind.
Yeah.
I would watch that movie. I think that sounds like an interesting movie. I like that style of film though, the murder mystery style. So you'll have to keep us updated.
I will keep you updated, and I will let you know when it's finished, and I'll probably let you read it.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
It'd be fun to make YouTube documentary about that.
Yeah, writing that script.
Yeah.
That's crazy. When you think about it, you can make content out of any little thing.
Yeah.
You can about any little story.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting too. I really like how you can take a small situation and it's really a big situation, like writing an entire script. But even it can be, making a YouTube video. This is a documentary on how I started making YouTube videos.
Yeah.
You can really turn anything into content if you're creative enough. So,
and it gets in front of the right audience, ideally too, because look at Justin Bieber.
Right.
He's a YouTube star who ended up getting a contract, a deal, and now he's just all over the place.
Right.
Justin who?
Justin Bieber.
I gotcha.
What do you mean?
It was a joke.
Oh,
I think everyone knows Justin Bieber except your dad.
he knows him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish for everyone to be as famous as Justin Bieber got.
I know.
Yeah.
I wish that on everybody.
Yeah. And that just kind of, I really thought after that YouTube was going down and going down. I'm
Really?
like, oh yeah, there was a while that like I only went on YouTube just to like watch music videos every now and then if I really liked a song.
Right.
And I was so wrong. I think that, last year living in my apartment alone, I got addicted to YouTube again. And that was so cool. Like
Right.
I started spending most of my time on YouTube. Like Netflix started to just bore me. I'm like, I just don't like these shows. Like
Right.
I like YouTube. And I think that goes back to the raw content of like wanting to feel like you know people.
Right.
And YouTube can make you feel like you know people.
100%.
Yeah. A screen in your living room alone.
Right.
How human.
Right.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about that. And then, also too, along the lines of like working for a film production company, do you see yourself being the person who gets, a podcast out in front of someone who's in charge of the marketing for a movie? What kind of digital marketing do you want to be focusing on? I know ads, and like, do you truly just want to be like the go-to ad guy? Yeah.
I think ads are definitely an area that I really want to focus on, just because I think that, like I said, it kind of levels the playing field. And I think that when you know more about ads, you can kind of go back to organic social media traffic and you can kind of understand it more. So I think ads is definitely an area that I really want to focus on. As for working for a film production company, I would love to handle the social media for a film production company, like, I don't know, like a Blumhouse or something. I don't know, anything like that. But, and just kind of learn more about the industry in general, because, you never think about, with a movie, how much goes into marketing a movie, but a lot of money goes into marketing a movie. A lot of moving pieces go into marketing a movie. So that's something that I just have always been interested in. And, I would love to learn it.
Yeah.
I like that you said that like all the marketing that goes into a movie. It's interesting. Like if you have it, let's just say it's like a big Hollywood movie and you have $100 million budget.
Right.
It's like a huge part of that budget is not for the production of the movie. It's for the marketing of the movie. So you know that it exists and you go and pay and watch it. Yeah. Just so easy to forget about that.
Right. When I learned that, I was like, wow, you're telling me that much money goes into just marketing a movie? Like, oh my goodness.
It makes sense, though. Like, one of our friends, he is finally going to be releasing his book in June. And so we're starting a video podcast now to do marketing for the book, because it's building a community, building a following, giving people a reason to sign up on the book's wait list.
Right.
And that's a book. Like, I never would have thought about marketing going into a book. I just thought, oh, you like someone enough, you end up looking up their book and maybe buying it.
Right.
No, because there are people who have books who you don't know the author, but you still really want to read their book.
Right.
And that can only happen with marketing. Yeah, that's just the kind of stuff I never would have thought about ever before working here. Like, just so cool.
Yep. Just marketing goes into all different types of content.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why a podcast is awesome too, because it gives you an opportunity to show people who you are. So like, yeah, you're more than just an author, but like people can actually fall in love with your personality. Right. And that's just so much fun.
And it can come through the book. If you see someone, you actually hear them speaking about it, you can kind of almost see them writing on the pages and things like that. So yeah.
Well then, is there any like last things that you really want to touch on and like kind of send a message out there for people to know?
I think I want to send a message out that, for those people out there who, are kind of lost and don't necessarily know what they want to do, just to keep going. I know when I kind of got into this social media journey, there was a lot of times where I felt like, I wasn't confident in myself, or I felt like, maybe this isn't right for me. But, you just got to keep plugging on and keep going, and just know that success is, like you said, is on the other side of fear, but success is also on the other side of hard work. And, don't think your hard work is going unnoticed. People see it. People see kind of what you're doing, and, people take notice. And, we all have that, every dog has his day, and you'll get that day eventually.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like, that reminds me of how you started out with your degree in PR and you're doing this now. And I did want to ask you if you see, PR just completely shifting in a different direction, where you think PR might be in the next couple years too.
See, personally, me, I don't know if I'm completely in the chair to answer that. I think PR is definitely in a way that a lot of times it's all meshing together. Social media, PR, everything, it's kind of meshing together more. I'd say PR in the next couple of years is definitely going to evolve. I think the way we connect with journalists is going to evolve. I think the way we handle events and everything like that is going to evolve. And, going more virtual, maybe it's more, chat room events, things like that. It's a lot of different ways that I think can evolve. So I'd say just to always stay current within your industry. And I think that's really important. So
never stop learning.
Never stop learning.
Don't let yourself be stagnant, because when you're stagnant, then you're falling behind.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming. Yeah. Bill, do you have any last questions for Kevin too?
I don't have any questions, but I love your knowledge and your passion for what you do. And so few people actually are always learning and are always challenging themselves to learn more, to get better. And you also say like it's fun. It's fun to learn more.
Yes.
And because you found what you really enjoy doing, and so it's not like it is work that you're learning, and it's work that you're putting into action, but it's work that you are like honored to be able to do.
Right.
And I think that's really cool. And a lot of just us humans and the next generation of people is we're getting to do more of that work that is, we're not just going to work for a paycheck. We're going to work to do something that satisfies our soul. And then we want to be able to make great money while we do it, doing stuff that we love. So it's finding that balance. And it's cool that you found that kind of that spot of where you're getting to do things that you love and you're getting to make money doing it. And it's like, sounds like it's only good, positive things coming up in the next few years for you.
Most definitely. Keep working at it. You can do it too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much for having me. Great experience.
Oh, where can people find you on social media?
Yes.
Where can people find me on social media? Kevin.Hillman1 is my Instagram. On LinkedIn, it's Kevin Hillman. Definitely connect with me on there. I am kind of gearing up to share some things on there as well. So,
Sweet. We'll follow along.
Yeah.
Awesome. No problem.
One more question. Would you take any clients for digital marketing right now?
Sure, why not? I love meeting new people, and I love challenging myself. So
Sweet.
Yay.
We'll throw that out in the universe.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.